Good morning and welcome once again. Briefly today, I'm going to be discussing the rights of a tenant. I need you to know your legal rights as a tenant in property that you live in or that you use for business. The landlord has rights, the tenant also has rights. 5 of the tenant's rights. The first right, rights to peaceful occupation of your property. You have paid rent. The landlord should give you space and peace to enjoy the property in peace and not create a nuisance, or other tenants should not create a nuisance to your enjoyment of the property that you have rented. If they create a nuisance, you can report them to the landlord, you can report them to government agencies around you. You have a right to peaceful enjoyment of property that you have paid for. In like manner, you have a right to notice if the landlord wants to come and inspect. The landlord has a right to inspect the property rented to you, but you have a right to notice. The landlord says he wants to come and inspect the house. He should give you notice 7 days, 14 days, 5 days, and you people should agree on what works for you. That is the second right you're entitled to, right to notice before the landlord comes to inspect your property. Right to valid notice to quit. Your notice to quit rests on your tenancy and rests on how rent is being paid. I've done 2 videos at least in this series that talk about how notice to quit is being calculated. Do well to check in this playlist. You will see at least 2 videos that talk about notice to quit. So you have a right to a valid notice to quit and a valid notice of owner's intention to recover possession. There are 2 different notices. When they issue a valid notice to quit based on how you pay rent, at the end of that valid notice to quit, you are entitled to a 7-day notice of owner's intention to recover possession. In layman's terms, that notice says, I'm going to go to court to go and recover possession of my property from you. That is the third notice. The fourth notice is right to the tenant for the landlord to maintain the external features of the house. So the external walls of the compound, especially when it's shared premises, the external walls, the external structures in the compound, they are the landlord's job to maintain. Whether the landlord maintains it or not is another issue. But actually, they are the landlord's job to maintain the external features in property that is rented. The landlord's job is to maintain the external features. The tenant maintains the internal features, but the landlord's job is to maintain the external features of the property. The fifth right of the tenant is right to relevant notices. The landlord wants to increase rent, you are entitled to relevant notices. There are rates that are charged, they are going to be increased or anything like that, you are entitled to relevant notices. There are new regulations in the estate where you live, you are entitled to relevant notices. You should not be accused of doing things that you have not been properly notified about. So the proper notification usually is by a written document. Based on relationship, it can be verbal if parties agree and waive the other rights. But ordinarily, you are entitled to valid notices because you're entitled to pay your outgoings. That is your own liability. But then you're also entitled to a right to know what your liabilities are, especially when your liabilities increase. You have a right to know when your rent is going to be increased. You have a right to know. These are 5 of your rights to know. Did you know that all my digital products, I'm going to be selling them at just 10% of their value? On my birthday, which is November 23rd, there's also going to be a live birthday meeting. Stay tuned, more details coming. Have a pleasant day. See you again tomorrow. Bye.